The video side of Photoshop offers up a number of motion presets. And what that means is you can apply a motion preset to, let's say, a still image, and it'll do a little bit of a zoom or a pan or a rotation automatically, depending on the preset you select. The typical scenario would be a slideshow where you have a bunch of still images, and then you might want to have a little bit more visual interest by applying a little bit of motion to them. Maybe a little zoom, a little pan, a little rotation, just to give them some visual pizzazz. You can also apply motion presets to video clips, but there are a couple of caveats in that case in terms of dealing with the audio and also setting them up. In any event, I'm going to explain how you apply motion presets to both still images and video clips in this lesson. To follow along, go to Working Files and open up Photoshop PSD files and then open up 0601 Motion. I have a little slideshow here with 5 images, and they're each 6 seconds long, so it's 30 seconds altogether with a little bit of music associated with it. And I have cross dissolves between each one. Each cross dissolve is 1 second. So to get each clip to be 6 seconds long, I made them all 7 seconds and then applied the crossfade, the cross dissolve. And you know that when you apply a crossfade, you're actually overlapping the clips by the duration of the crossfade and therefore shortening the project. That's why they started their lives as 7-second clips, but now they're down to 6-second clips because of these crossfades. All right, let me just show you how this looks. I'll just pull this over to the beginning or press the home key to do that. Press the space bar to play it. All right, I think you get a sense of how that works. You've got these still images that are just cross-dissolving from one to the next. It would be much more interesting if there was just a little bit of motion associated with them. And so to do that, you just need to open up this little flyout menu. Now, when you've worked with these little flyout menus before with video clips, you know, when you open them up, you see a little video icon and an audio icon. But that's not the case here when you're working with still images. You can click this little flyout menu to open them up, or just right-click here and the same thing will happen. So your only option when you work with these clips is motion. Right now, no motion is the default. I click this little drop-down list here, and we have various choices. Pan and zoom, pan only, zoom only, rotate only, or rotate and zoom. Let's just choose pan here. When you choose pan, then you have an option of which direction you want it to pan. In this case, it's going to pan from left to right. It's pointing in the direction that it's going to move here. Then resize to fill the canvas is default. You do want to zoom in on the clip because we're going to pan across it. If you didn't resize it, you'd get some gaps where you'd see black underneath it, or you'd see something what was below it on the timeline underneath it. So you probably want to resize to fill the canvas, and that's the default. Okay, let's just take a look at this and see how it works. Go back to the beginning here. So there you go. It pans from left to right. It moves across the screen left to right. Okay, let's go to this next one here. Just right-click on it and go to motion here. This time we'll do zoom. When you do zoom, it says zoom from where? You want to zoom in or zoom out, basically. So let's just zoom in on it. That's kind of the default. Let's zoom in from the upper left-hand corner like that. And again, we need to resize by default. When we zoom, we want to make sure that we don't get any gaps. When we zoom in, there won't be any gaps because we start full screen and zoom in. But if we zoomed out, there would be gaps if we didn't resize to fill the canvas. Okay, now we got that. Let's see how this looks when we go from one to the next. I think that's just, much more interesting. You probably agree. Let's try this next one. Right-click here. We'll go to motion again. We'll choose rotate this time. And it says, which way do you want to rotate? Clockwise or counterclockwise? Some people say anti-clockwise. There you go. Let's take a look at that one from the little zoom here to the next one. There you go. And if you didn't resize to fit the canvas, you'd be getting gaps here in the corner as you do these zooms. So it automatically takes care of that. It won't show any gaps if you choose that. Let's go to this next one here. Right-click on it. This time we'll do both. We'll do pan and zoom. So we get a couple of options, which direction we want to zoom. Let's just change this to zoom from the right this time. The degrees are kind of odd. You'd think it would say, let's say 270 or something like that, but that's how degrees work here when you're doing these little rotations. There you go. And let's zoom out now. And let's turn off resize to canvas. Let's just see what happens when we do that. See if we mess with this just a little bit. So we'll go across dissolve from this to the next one. There you can see how those gaps show up. Not a good thing. So I'm going to right-click again here and say, yeah, let's resize this time and get this thing right, shall we? Really nice. I think it's just a whole lot better to use these guys than just having static images. Let's do this last one here, down to the bottom. The last choice we have is rotate and zoom. So you can see you get the zoom in and clockwise. Let's go counterclockwise, anti-clockwise, and let's Zoom out on that one, and then we go from one to the next. Here we go. Very nice. So I think you can see the value of these little motion presets. I want to try this with a video clip. It behaves differently with a video clip, and you should know about this. So I'm going to go over here and add a new video track by going New Video Group. I'm going to bring in a video clip that has a lot of sound on it. So I'll go over here. I'm going to go to this one here where it's really loud. Bring that guy in. There we go. I'm going to mute the music. Let me just lift this up a little bit here so we don't hear the music. All I want to hear is this waterfall. All right. So now I want to apply motion to this. But you know, if you right click here, you're going to get this menu with the video and the music. Click this little flower out here, you get the same thing, the little video and the music thing. So where's motion here? Well, it doesn't exist. You don't have an option to have a motion preset when you have a video clip. You need to convert it to a smart object first. No big deal, but let me show you what happens when you convert it to a smart object. You do that by right-clicking on the clip over here in the Layers panel. Just right-click on it and say Convert to Smart Object. Or you can simply click on it and make it active and go up to Layer, Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Object. But that's kind of tedious, right? Let's always take the shortest route, right? So we just right-click on this guy, Convert to Smart Object. There you go. Now it's a smart object. So what does that mean? Well, if you right-click on it now, it says motion. Great. But where's the audio? There is no audio control anymore. You lost the audio control, and you lost the video control too in terms of duration and speed. So how do you get there? So you do that by just double-clicking on this clip over here in the icon, on the thumbnail. You get this thing saying when you're done, make sure you save it. And you go over here, and now here is that clip. It's called a PSB file. This is where you can control the audio. So I right-click now, I have the audio control here, so I can give it a fade in, for example, and a fade out like that. Change the volume, bring it down. So this is where I can control the audio. I could have set these things up before I created the smart object, but in any event, if I want to change them later, I've got to come over here to do that. All right, so we're done now. Now I need to save this, so I could Control or Command S to save it. There we go. Now we go back to our project. Let's see if that applied there. Let's just try it out. So it does apply those changes back on the smart object side of things, and does leave you the option now of doing a little bit of motion control here. So just right click on this thing, maybe actually have it be a zoom and a pan. Let's try that. There we go. We'll pan from left to right and we'll zoom in on it. Notice when you zoom in now, you don't have the option of having the direction. When you do it zoom only, you have the option of zooming it from someplace. But when you do the pan and the zoom, you don't have that option because you're panning across the screen like that. So we'll just click away and accept that. I'll try it again. You notice it's kind of stuttering along there because it's doing a lot of work while it's panning and zooming there in this video clip. It's got to work hard to make that happen in real time. Now, as you apply these motion presets, something is going on under the hood. And let me show you what that is. I'm going to open up this group here like that. And notice that you have these things called keyframes here. There are the keyframes. They're red when you have a preset. They won't be red. They'll be yellow when you do them manually. But there are these presets for each one of these guys. They show that these little changes here from one to the next. We're going to deal with applying keyframes manually in other lessons, but I do want to show you that when you use these presets, these red keyframes are added to these clips automatically. So there you have it. That's how you apply motion presets to still images and video clips.